perfectly, and now is the time.
All right, let's take a look at our bans because all of these are the usual suspects throughout this series so far. Nocturne, Gwen, Rumble remain banned by G2 every game. The Nocturne and the Rumble every single time in that first 3. Over on the other side, Maokai, Azir, and the Hansama trademark Draven are the targets for GAM. G2 has first pick on blue side. They will lock in the Annie for caps.
Okay, so AD jungles to pair with the Annie do get kind of thin when you get to game number 5. We still have like Viego, Jarvan options. The Zed that was kind of hovered before, an option. Maybe you want to do a Tarzan cosplay. We'll see what they end up going for there on the side of G2. Meanwhile, GAM's response to the Annie outrange here, Orianna in mid lane. And the insta Vi follow up here. So we've got Vi combo with shockwave delivery here.
Remember, last game in the second half of the bans, the Orianna was removed, I believe, by G2.
Yeah, makes it through this time around. Answered very quickly there. The 1-2 from GAM. All right, what's it going to be, SkewMond? That was one of the ones we were talking about that is still left up. That is a potent duo. Levi himself used it this tournament.
Yep. You go in.
Big kill pressure, big burst.
Yeah. Annie bursts down the initial target, Viego possesses, all of a sudden you're off to the races. They're also going to go ahead, complete the top side here for G2, locking in the blind Ksante for Broken Blade. What will be the answer here from GAM to deal with that? What does Kiaya have now that the pools are so worn down? This could be one that I wouldn't be surprised, and there it is, the lock on the Aatrox for Kiaya.
Yeah, this is nerfed Ksante and buffed Aatrox. Ooh. The extra healing here for Aatrox. We'll see about this top lane matchup, but looks like they're making some very similar choices there. A lot of good all-in combos.
And you can see another one of those respect bans, another one of those pocket pick bans from GAM. It's the Draven in the first set. It's the Blitzcrank of Labrov here in the second half of the ban phase, as Renata will be the ban from the side of G2. Both sides having drafted both their solo lanes and their junglers. It's all about the bottom lanes here in the second half of the draft, and it's about supports for the first ban for both sides.
And Kalista is still up, so they ban away the Renata. Thinking about some of the optional pairings for them here.
I like the Ezreal ban from GAM. That champion can be very effective against Vi in particular. You lock onto him, he arcane shifts, all of a sudden you're somewhere you really don't want to be.
Yeah, it's too safe, too safe. Can't have that going over to G2.
Now what is G2's final ban going to be here? I mean, when you look at Marksman, we're really deep now, Kobe. We've got the ban on Draven and Ezreal. We've got 8 champions already removed through Fearless. Bard is your final ban now.
Sivir 2 with the move speed is still available, still an option.
Okay.
You can always go for Jinx if you want to scale for team fight. And Jinx does work really well with burst combos like Viego Annie to try and get that excited passive going.
Right.
So that could be an option for G2.
GAM thinking about this. They will have the last pick of the draft. I would assume that will go to their support.
There's that
Kalista.
That's the Kalista we were looking for with the Renata ban. They don't care the Renata is banned.
But what will they pair with it?
Something for some lane dominance here, some engage.
Also feels better to play Kalista when Caitlyn is banned as one of the potential options, but Ashe is one of those champions that's still available. Ashe is something that we see a lot of teams pick into Kalista with the slows. It's still available right now, but so is that Smolder, so is Senna, and that'll be the answer from, it's Senna Tahm for G2.
Ooh, the safety of the Tahm Kench here to complement the Senna. One of our classic combinations. When you see the Vi coming towards you, they're gonna have some options now. All right, what's it gonna be? Oh man, they're offering some aggressive stuff.
That would be a full send if that was support Elise. Now let's see. Seraphine, final pick.
I kind of wanted to see the Pike because you want to like execute past the Tahm Kench shield, past the gray health, but they go with the power of the Senna. Very strong here for lane with the poke damage, and does get to be very useful for team fights later on when you need some extra shields to deal with some burst damage. If the Annie Viego is getting to be too much, maybe that extra breakpoint, you know, shields from Seraphine, shields from the Orianna, of course self shields from Vi as well, but oh man, we're building into it. Honestly, Flowers, I think this draft to me looks pretty close.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was going to ask you my question.
Game number 5, I know.
I've asked it every game.
It's going to come down to play. It's going to come down to execution. Caps here on the Annie, he has been so critical. If you remember all the way back to the first 2 games for G2, Caps, pivotal, and now on Annie here, such a playmaking champion, so many burst possibilities.
Especially, again, with that combination with Viego. Viego needs to be able to reset. So much of the character's power is budgeted into the ability to reset. If he just goes in, can't find that first one, life is tough. He'll be relying on Caps to set that up and allow him to pop off.
And honestly, I think I might be even leaning more towards the GAM side of the draft now, Flowers. With how Artemis played last time around, them having the Kalista plus the Seraphine down here, that is going to be guaranteed priority for GAM. I want to see how it plays out down here, because G2, once again, they're going to rely a lot on Caps plus SkewMond here. Senna has to scale up, and she scales slower than she previously did with the nerf to the Soul generation.
Okay, grasp on both top laners for the early laning power. Airy for the Seraphine, Summoner Spellbook for the Tahm, playing for that extra utility as the game goes forward. Everything else pretty standard stuff. Just some cautious checking of the brushes here at level 1. And here we have on the screen time spent in a major deficit for GAM. Half the time they were in a major deficit versus BLG, but in this series and versus Furia, 14% shakes out to roughly 1/7 of the time for GAM, which means 6/7 of the time, they're either close or they're ahead.
I'm just impressed how quick they got that Photoshop of the kiss up
yeah,
here ready for the graphic.
That was pretty slick.
Because that's how this series started. But we'll see how it ends very shortly here. All right, Artemis and Elio, just stars in the previous game.
Yeah.
Massive carries, massive honors to both of them.
I mean, remember how it started off? SkewMond was the one pathing bottom very early to try to gank. And then they just turn it around. They kill Labrov and they go right back to pressuring and farming. Back here in mid lane, Annie and Orianna, 2 very traditional mage champions to go head to head here. Tri-lane Cam gonna give us a look at a little bit of everything, with mid lane being the one trading the most heavily here early on. Obviously, at level 1, auto attacks compromise a lot of your damage, and Orianna's Clockwork Windup gives her a distinct advantage in those trades compared to a lot of other champions. Cap's doing a good job there. They're using the stun to guarantee the Electrocute proc. I
think there should be a lot of early Caps plus SkewMond's combinations, because, yeah, and, oh, he's coming already, level 3 here. 3 camps into the combination. They want to at least get the flash. Can Caps, did he get a stun? How many charges?
He's charging it up. Yeah, I can't see the buff counter thing. All right, Eris just continuing.
Well, he's got it under his head there, 3.
Okay, he's staying very far back. Oh yeah, it's under the health bar now. I'm stupid. I'm living in 2009. I'm a dummy. Caps finds some quick damage there, but again, about the same amount of health for both mid laners, and Eris is going to play so cautiously. So SkewMond's time spent hovering around this mid lane puts him about 1 camp behind Levi or so. TP right back onto the face of Caps from Eris. Levi not going to be shadowing this one, just instead taking his own blue buff. Eris honestly losing a ton of HP on this teleport return. He returns to lane, and now he's back to the same amount of HP that he was at when he recalled home. Bit of a mistake there from Eris early on, trying to maybe put some pressure onto Caps, but that many minions at level 3, those hurt.
Yep, minions definitely hurt early on into the game, especially a full wave of them. Caps now teleporting back with his purchase, and he's got his boots. Okay. Big here for the Annie. Try and make some of these roaming plays. On the rise, he was able to get his own leads in mid and then transfer it to the rest of the team.
So both mid laners are thinking about the potential jungle fight for the topside crab. but it looks like SkewMond's just going to get control over it himself instead. Top lane control does go over to Kiaya on the Aatrox here early. Levi's going to go ahead and take his first recall. Bottom side, Labrov and Hans taking some big damage from those Seraphine high notes.
So we've got some numbers to back up what you saw with your very own eyes in the previous game.
All right.
1,252 damage per minute for the Caitlyn. I believe it was just over 40K for the entire game.
40% of the team's damage.
And it wasn't just how much he was doing. They kept down the Kaisa so heavily.
Yeah.
Barely got anything in that with the AD Kaisa.
Harris and Caps just continuing to trade back and forth so frequently. Caps constantly priming these stuns, trying to get those quick electrocute trades on the Eris.
Eris trying to space him on the Orianna. Get those chunks, keep him out of range. Use the slows, even with the move speed of the boots.
And that's really what it's all about with this matchup, right? Orianna does have the superior range, but it's pretty close. If you step just a little bit too far forward and Caps gets off the stun, he's gonna win those trades.
Right, Levi's hovering so much. They know this is really the only area that G2 want to play early. And so he's hovering so much to make sure that nothing goes too heavily wrong. But Caps, once again, generates his own CS lead with the threat.
Plus 10. Huge. Eris once again taking a recall, as now it'll be Elio and Artemis moving towards the mid lane, towards this topside river here. Levi coming around, flash, vault breaker, Seraphine tries to follow, Levi ends up taking a ton of damage there. GAM hoping to find Caps unawares, but it does not work.
Yeah, Artemis also used his flash to go for the Q snipe to finish off that kill. So Caps survives, he evades all of it. That is 4 flashes down now for the side of GAM. Big value for Caps here, surviving the attempted play.
Yeah, massive. 3 flashes to not get anything but the Caps flash in return. That is a huge net positive for G2. 6 minutes into the game, GAM thought they might be able to catch him by surprise, but Caps is ready for it. Levi now just trying to go back to, oh my goodness, Labrov just stole it away with the lick.
Spellbook here, Tahm Kench having some fun. And the deep wards here as well. So not only just fun, frog on frog action,
yeah,
but also the deep wards. G2 have full vision over this bottom side.
Yep, SkewMond getting to secure himself that first Drake for G2 as well. Labrov jumps in there, goes for an Abyssal dive, but he gets rooted up. Artemis has to be careful jumping that far in. They're still in a 2v3 here. Labrov has thick skin primed and ready to pop, but instead just going to allow it to use the regeneration instead. Checking back up in on the top lane here. It is a very slight farm lead for Kiaya, but not a ton. Again, this is, I feel like, kind of the goal for Broken Blade. As long as you keep it close, hey, you're doing fine. This is the big piece on the chessboard for GAM, and being able to answer him and just stay close, stay competitive, that's solid.
Yeah, and Kiaya here, as Aatrox with a Seraphine on your team, with an Orianna on your team as well, that can really enable you in some of the team fights later. Definitely has huge potential for later on once they do get to those skirmishes and team fight phases.
Back in mid. Caps continuing to build those farm leads, as Caps does. Artemis and Elio having a much more normal lane phase here in Game 5 compared to the absolute domination of Game number 4. Levi with level 6 though, coming down bottom lane. He's going to walk right over top of a control ward, so G2 is going to be very aware of what GAM might have been thinking about. Levi will clear that out, move back into the jungle. You can see the blue buff for GAM about to respawn. Similar story for the red on the side of G2, but SkewMond, honestly, having a really solid early game here on the Viego too. He's still staying ahead of Levi in terms of tempo with his farm. He's also going to fully clear both the grubs, and remember that he already got the first Drake.
Yeah, he's afforded a lot of freedom because GAM have been so focused and worried about mid lane. Because they have to deal with mid lane, everyone on GAM so worried about Caps. They're spending so many resources from GAM towards that mid lane, and they were unable to actually get the kill onto Caps. And so it has afforded SkewMond a lot of freedom there to grab objectives for the team and to keep his focus on the farming. Kind of just like leaving it in your mind, leaving it threatening. Oh, maybe I'm camping mid, but not since the super early minutes.
All right, Elio's gonna pass through here. Seraphine ulti also very, very powerful in one of these fights. You know, if you have Tahm Kench, if you have Viego and Ksante all going in this big melee ball, and he's also a pretty short-range mage, a big Seraphine ulti into a big Orianna ulti could be a massive wombo combo. Kiaya, nice sidestep there from the third and Tofo strike, making sure he doesn't get knocked back into the turret. The Ksante special that we've seen so many times. You get knocked back, you get pathmakered, you get all outed, all of a sudden you're underneath a turret with no way out. Kiaya won't be caught by that trap, but SkewMond coming in mid lane here, finds a nice stun onto Eris. There's the follow-up from Cabs. Shockwave isn't gonna do a whole lot. It's first blood over to SkewMond.
And there were just seconds left on the flash timer. SkewMond chooses his moment wisely. Finally goes for that play that we're looking for, the Annie collaboration with Viego, just seconds before Ares is able to get his flash back. They get their kill.
And I misspoke, that was Caps taking the credit for the kill. This is the guy that GAM committed 3 flashes to try to set behind. Now he's ahead anyway. G2 about at a 1,000 gold lead now, with the vast majority of that being on Caps himself. This is exactly where they want to be in the early game. You've got the first set of grubs, you've got the first Drake, you've got the first kill, and it's on Caps Annie, and he's up almost 3 waves of farm again.
Mid lane, such a huge focus. But here it is once again. SkewMond goes for the flash. Able to get the full combo. And again, look at that flash timer, just the slivers were still ticking up. Timed it so well, since they both used theirs.
First blood. Okay.
Oh, but now we got a problem up in the top side for Kiaya. SkewMond once again trying to make the difference. Kiaya misses the Q2, goes in for the Q3 onto the Viego. Continues trying to make a little bit of extra distance, but the third and Tofo strike's gonna find him this time. Broken Blade gets a kill. Both G2 solo laners on the board.
SkewMond is activated here. Viego getting in the action and getting those kills for his solo laners. Broken Blade cashes in even more. The timing of it, they get to push the wave. 2 turret plates on top of a kill. So much influx of gold here for G2.
G2 in the early game, in game number 5, backs against the wall, knowing if they lose this one, they're out in the play-ins for Europe's most accomplished team of all time. That is just not hitting the standard, and they're throwing it all here in game 5 into the mix to make sure that GAM doesn't take that spot from them.
They have refocused. Can they continue though? They do have a new dragon up, and GAM positioning here for the fight.
SkewMond already with the Trinity Force, has been the facilitator of both kills thus far. GAM, they'll use the smite to secure the Scuttle Crab, but they've got to respect Caps. The Annie with the flash and the Tibbers can spell disaster very easily. Kiaya trying to get away from Broken Blade. He's already got the Iceborne Gauntlet completed. Kiaya still has components. He does not want to fight this. The turret already shot him another time. Kiaya with the flash away. The Dawning Shadow doesn't find the mark. Kiaya gets away, but at the same time, G2 claims their second Drake this game. That is 3 neutral objectives for G2. They're at 2 kills. If they get 1 more kill, they'll secure the boots as well.
Yeah, all things really going for G2. Of course, since Levi used his smite to go for that crab, they knew they were going to get that dragon afterwards. And Levi, after covering this side, trying to put a stop to Broken Blade's push here, and all this extra gold coming through.
Okay. Kiaya back up into position here on the Aatrox. Still just the difference between having an item and not. Broken Blade just feeling so much more powerful than this Aatrox. Goes all out, provides himself an exit route here, as now the World Ender is popped. Broken Blade trying to use the Pathmaker, but that means the Vi ulti has the opportunity to go back in. But SkewMond's also here. Broken Blade with another shield. GAM finds the first kill, but now Kiaya's got to make sure he doesn't fall. SkewMond with the defensive ulti back over the wall to escape. GAM get their first kill of the game, punishing Broken Blade.
Exactly what you were talking about, Flowers. He wanted to use his item advantage for the 1v1, but it was not a 1v1. Levi had just been on that top side, and so he doesn't respect it, but now.
Eris, immediate flash over the wall as Labrov with a nice abyssal dive forces the summoner spell out of the otherwise immobile mid laner of GAM. But this whole time, because Labrov and Hans were rotated up to the top side of the map towards all this scrapping, it meant that Artemis and Elio could get the bottom lane turret first. That's going to give them first turret credit. So now we're in a contest for those boots. It's 2 kills for GAM or 1 kill for G2 to earn them, as Hans Sama is at least going to retake the gold lead, taking down the tier 1 turret in top side.
Yeah, G2 there, they were looking for big top side play because they just got a bunch of completed items too. The Malignant's also done for caps, so they're trying to find some picks for themselves over through the jungle. So they overload up top side of the map, forcing that turret. But here's another look at it. Broken Blade had gone for the ulti, but of course Levi, who had just cleared on the top minions, had gone over to Krugs. He's the first jungler to arrive, so they get the extra time. And despite the item completed there from Broken Blade, the kill is completed for GAM.
Whenever we come back from those replays, I always have to just like take a deep breath because I never know if the teams are instantly going to be fighting. We've seen such aggressive plays from both teams so far in this series, and now it's G2 with the Rift Herald having only just spawned with control over the topside river. SkewMond and Caps going after the objective. Elio and Artemis stepping up here towards Hans and Labrov, but this Tahm Kench is such a great denial pick against Vi.
Yeah, and because they had rotated their duo over early and sacrificed their bottom lane, they have a lot of those deep wards laying behind too to try and see where GAM were moving up, but not going to result in anything further than the Rift Herald. They accrue the objective as well.
All right, where do we go from here, Mr. Kobe? Because G2 still have a lead in pretty much every direction.
I would say Rift Herald towards mid tower.
Okay.
It's not quite going to get it right now, but using that thing, it already is fairly low.
Labrov gets rooted up there by the Seraphine, forced to flash out. Now they're ready to follow it, but that's a Seraphine ulti. They're throwing the whole kitchen sink at Tahm Kench. He gets away with an abyssal dive. A little bit more damage is still required. Levi still going in. Finally, Artemis secures the kill. GAM spent a lot, but they got what they paid for.
Yeah, Labrov going into dangerous waters there to try and get more replaced vision up in the jungle. But GAM just snaps shut. They're not going to let that go through. They're not going to let that fly. Seraphine ult, Vi ult, well used there. Take down
Venus
Labrov.
flytrap. Not going to let that frog in there.
Nope.
Kiaya, he gets to farm this big wave. That's good. Picking up a little bit of extra money, trying to continue building that lead, make sure that he's a side lane threat. This is the guy. This is the win condition in so many GAM games. He drops the Aatrox in game number 5. We know that this is a character that can 1v9 if he gets fed, and I'm pretty sure GAM wants him to be able to do that.
And there is going to be tons of healing on this team, since they do have the double Sundered Skies, plus Aatrox himself, plus Blade of Ruin King for Kalista, plus the Seraphine on their team. Seraphine plus Orianna shield, so lots of synergistic team fighting for them. On the other side, of course, Hans Sama here, stacking up the Senna. Slower now than previously, but also going to add the enchanting to his team. And they do that Rift Herald play. Even if it was delayed by Labrov going down for the vision, they still pull it off. They still get their goal.
Can he get the Herald down to the turret? Nice drifting from SkewMond there, crashing the Herald into the tier 1 turret in the bottom lane to guarantee they get that one as well. G2 with a slight gold lead. GAM's not going to let him just take this third Drake of the game, though. GAM ready to move up and try to fight. They've caught Caps. He's in some danger, but the blast cone gets him away. G2 mid laner at half HP. Dragon resetting and losing patience. G2 still with control over the bot side river. Keep your eyes on Caps. GAM trying to move up, apply a little bit of pressure. The Dragon down to half. Attacking GAM now, putting a little bit of damage into the health bars. Broken Blade's got a lot of spears in his back. Chunk down to half himself. But remember, if he goes all out, he can still try to regenerate a lot of HP. G2 decides against it. They don't want to potentially throw the lead here. They give the Mountain Drake over. Seraphine ulti into the Tri-Brush, only finds Broken Blade as he path makes out. Dust settles, nobody dead.
But GAM have an easy route towards mid. So even though the Rift Herald was used to take down their mid tower, not only do they get the objective by forcing them out, they also can turn it into some gold as well.
GAM about to tie this game up. It is 3 turrets to 3, 2 Drakes to 1, still 2 kills to 2. The next kill determines the boots. It's a battle for the boots.
Battle for the boots. And their team fight is looking good for GAM. Very scary for G2 to go into, especially since Caps no flash. GAM, they put their sights on him, even though they didn't get the kill onto the Annie. Getting the flash down, taking away the key summoner spell for the key player on G2.
Also, a critical key item about to be completed here in the mid lane for GAM. Eris nearly has the fully charged Seraph's Embrace, needs to cast another spell or two, and then that extra shield could very well be the difference between a full burst combo and a Viego reset, or barely staying alive, hanging on for that shield battery in the Seraphine to keep you alive and keep the fight going. Once that completes, obviously he's going to be feeling more comfortable as Kiaya and Broken Blade are set up here in the bottom lane. Kiaya with his Sundered Sky now feeling a lot better about that 1v1 against the Iceborne Gauntlet of the Ksante, of Broken Blade. Otacon spawning, as you can see in the bottom right part of your screen. He is in the top side of the map this game. Man, it's a 100 gold difference. It doesn't even matter. Both these teams ready to go. Nice interrupt there on the Q3. Broken Blade not going to allow Kiaya to get that big source of damage. Levi just jumps over the wall here with a ball breaker immediately, but it's only Labrov waiting on him. Now it might be trouble for GAM. Levi has to try to retreat back over the wall now as Artemis also does the same. Caps rotates down as GAM disengages. Levi does not have a fearful bone in his body.
Yes, he does not. He is all in all the time, constantly looking for plays, playing with fire sometimes.
Yeah,
but
they got a little hot back there.
They're able to escape.
Kiaya using the Q3 that time, finds it onto Broken Blade. Pathmaker does not interrupt, but SkewMond, he's so strong on this Viego. He's soloing down the Otacon for a little while. It's down to 30% HP when Caps moves up to help him. G2 easily secure this Otacon for themselves. And Kobe, although the gold is as close as it is, now if we look at the total amount of flower petals claimed by G2, 27 versus 1. That is a massive amount of adaptive force that G2 has that's just very subtle.
Plus, you see the level leads for a lot of the members on the team right now, and Caps finishing the magic penetration here. Void Staff plus Malignance for the Annie. Splash is still on cooldown, so it still doesn't have the big playmaking, but yeah, GAM make the call. Just keep on farming for themselves. They want to get to their big synergy 5-on-5 fight. Make use of all their shields and healing.
I feel like this is by far the slowest game we have had today. Both teams know what's on the line. The fact that we had Otacon claimed before the Empowered Boots, that is how few kills are in this game, as neither side wants to make that fatal mistake that doesn't just end the game, that doesn't just end the series, that ends their run at MSI. Still the 3 grubs for G2, gives them that extra pushing power. Again, we go back to the first 2 games that G2 won. It was a macro diff. It was GAM constantly taking bad trades, a turret for a turret plus a kill, something similar. And if G2 even takes even trades this time around, they will have so much more pushing power. You can see here the gold grab throughout the game. The highest gold difference was about plus 1,000 for G2 back around 12 minutes into the game. We're 10 minutes later now, and it's still on a knife's edge.
Just got alerted from stats. The G2 pedal advantage currently around 500 gold worth of stats.
Is that per player or is that for the whole team?
If you converted them. They said it was for the team.
Okay. Broken Blade about to walk right into the waiting arms of GAM, but now he's ready to go all out. It doesn't work though. A nice buffer from Levi to get away from it. Seraphine ulti hits 2, but they're putting all the damage into Labrov. The Tahm Kench trying to get away over the wall, but the Dawning Shadow fires back into GAM. How is no one dead?
Well, because they've got the flashes to escape, Labrov used both summoner spells to get out of that one alive. The Seraphine team-fighting prowess, though, did see a little glimpse of it, GAM. They still have the inside route towards the dragon, but G2 moving in to take the vision.
Okay, last time, that fight, it wasn't the Levi ulti that buffered through the Ksante ult. It was the Kalista ult saving the Seraphine. G2 with control over this bot side river now. Kiaya could be in a little bit of danger, dodges away from the center route. Now Broken Blade taking some damage. Important update, it is also 500 gold per player with those flowers. It's about a 3,000 gold lead in effective stats for G2.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of power.
That is much more flower power. Okay, so Hansama had just run out of mana though, so G2 running out of a little bit of steam there. No mana left on him, has to retreat.
Okay.
Should be the objective win there for GAM then.
Yeah, and the timer favors GAM here as well. 24 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock means that there's no chance for G2 to try to trade something across the map there in the Baron Pit. Still not spawned yet. Otacon obviously already taken. Now, 2 Drakes to 2, 2 kills to 2, 3 turrets to 3. Everything is so close except for those flower petals. Again, it's about a 2,500 gold total team value in Adaptive Force for G2 through those. Second items completed in a lot of different spots now. You already mentioned the Void Staff for Caps. We have Leandries for Eris. Unending Despair on Broken Blade. Shojin on Kiaya.
I want to point out too, with the Otacon, it's not just this flower power, but the actually on-kill effect. When you're running the Viego burst that's looking to try and grab one of those kills really quickly, that extra slow, that extra damage, if they can actually burst the target down, could be super meaningful to their team fight.
What a game 5.
So much tension building here during all of these lulls. When they're going back, trying to farm. The only big objective up on the map is Baron. It's not something you start lightly, trying to clear out some of the vision.
It's like watching a really dramatic, 3-hour movie. You've got to spend the first 2 hours with the exposition. Now Hansama getting caught out. No Tahm Kench nearby. Hans has to flash to get away from it. Now the follow-up charm into SkewMond. There's the save. Labrov keeps his jungler alive with the Dawning Shadow over the top, but Levi is reinforced here by the shields. Broken Blade wants to make his entrance here to go all out. Kiaya flashing away as well. Another fight, another multi-ulti from both teams, and nobody's dead.
That right there is a perfect example of how GAM have no fear. They full sent there. Eris had no teleport. Caps did have teleport. That was dangerous. They saw a target that they wanted. They saw Hansama. They got the flash out of that Senna.
But now,
we'll see if it's worth.
Exactly, they did spend the Kalista ult, the Seraphine ult, the Vi ult, and G2 are gonna use the opportunity to take the tier 2 turret here in the bottom lane. The play ultimately favors G2. Yes, it cost Hans ult, it cost the Tahm Kench ulti, it cost Hans flash, but that's resources in G2's pocket now that they will be able to spend. 1.5 thousand gold lead there on the scoreboard. There's a control ward in the Baron Pit from GAM, but what can they get? SkewMond gonna step up here through the harrowing path, but GAM are not going to give him an opportunity to find anything.
And tension continues to build as we go towards that huge fight to determine the game. So many critical factors here. Can they actually make use of the flash that they blew on Hansama? That champion is hard to pick off, especially if the Tahm Kench is hovering, if Labrov is close by.
Now, important to note, there is grievous wounds on 2 champions on the side of G2. However, it is not proactive grievous wounds, it is only reactive grievous wounds. Both are bramble vests. If those champions are not being attacked, it does not matter. Hansama, though, does have executioners to try to apply that debuff. Levi, ball breaker over the wall, trying to stay safe as G2 invades the jungle of GAM. And it feels like G2 are fully in the driver's seat right now. They're the ones looking for opportunities. They're the ones trying to catch GAM.
Yeah, and they're the ones with the Senna constantly stacking here. You can definitely see the effects, though, of the nerf not stacking quite as fast, for sure. Only 76 stacks there for Hansama. But will continue to accrue that range, that power here, to add more options to their play later on. Caps, of course, in the side lane once again. And
what is the latest that boots have been claimed in a professional game?
I feel like we're getting there. I feel like we are there, maybe.
It's 28.5 minutes. No one has empowered boots yet in the game.
And because they split dragons 2-2, this next one isn't even the critical dragon. So if they feel like they have a bad approach, a bad angle to the fight,
you don't have to go.
Exactly, they don't have to go. They don't have to full send on this one. So we could be in for a lot more lulls.
Okay, SkewMond gonna step up again. The harrowing path allowing him to approach close enough to see what GAM is doing without putting himself in mortal danger. Death ball for both teams here in mid lane.
And the pressure is just so big. In an elimination match here on the international stage, you don't want to be the one to make the critical mistake, but you also have to have that killer instinct if an opportunity exposes itself to pull the trigger, to go for the kill.
Orianna shield
Caps
on
here.
Levi. Okay, abyssal dive from Labrov. Kiaya
They
the
do it.
target. G2 have already got him. Feet of warfare for G2. Kiaya down. GAM on the retreat. A nice knockback onto Elio, but Broken Blade has gone very far forward. He uses the Pathmaker to get himself back out. That is a massive pick from G2 Esports.
Caps does it. They go for the burst. They get the kill. The Aatrox is down. G2 will get Dragon number 3.
All right, there it is. And I just got updated. That is the second longest timer to claim the Blessing of Noxus, which is the boots, across all Tier 1 regions in Split 2. The longest one was 31 minutes, but we don't have time for that. Caps has been caught out. Levi goes in for him, but Labrov's got the save. Tahm Kench against Vi. He's made for this. Beautiful counter from G2, and the game is blown wide open. Han Sama with a kill. Caps with another, and G2 are about to take the Baron.
Caps doing it. G2, they're going to get the Baron. That will put an end to the stalemate. They will push in.
This game was so close for so long. For 29 minutes, they stared each other down. And when push came to shove, who steps up? Caps.
G2 wearing purple now. Lots of extra standing gold. Secondary towers in mid and top side for them to go take. Here's another look at it. There's Labrov to start it out as they were hitting Baron and going for Scuttle Crab. And then when Cats walks up, they do go for the Vi ult. But as you called out, Labrov is there, so they just eat Caps up. And then with teleports coming in, look at that grouping. Boom. Finds the full stun on 3, and they just combo all of it. Let's get the comms.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh, huge.
Let's
big.
go, man.
Let's go for
Huge, large, big, gargantuan, yes.
All synonyms for the state of the play that G2 just made. The gold lead now ballooning up to 5,000, probably closer to about 3,000 now total for the team in terms of the flower value. So 8,000 effective gold lead, and you can see their damage dealt to champions in the last team fight. Kiaya did 0 because he was dead. However, 4,000 damage almost from Caps. Ooh, and another whiff on the Seraphine ulti there from Elio. GAM has not found a lot of value out of those so far this game. It feels like most of GAM's engage attempts have been onto the Labrov Tahm Kench, trying to shut down that get out of jail free card, but he's just so tanky.
Yeah, G2 with the Baron buff. They just get the split going. They're going to get the 4-1, claiming this gold, closing in slowly but surely. Huge gold lead for them. GAM.
Oh, nice from SkewMond. He immediately responds with a Heartbreaker to get away, and Eris gonna get dove now. G2 is tired of waiting, and Broken Blade will create the space to pierce the base of GAM as G2 will find their first inhibitor here in the top lane. They'll find the second in mid right thereafter. That's 2 inhibs down, 32 minutes and 45 seconds into the game. Those will remain dead well past the timer for what'll be Mountain Soul for G2.
It's actually so smart for G2 to use SkewMond as the split pusher for that exact reason, because he knows he is ready for the ulti. And the only real big pick play that GAM have. They know that they have to use that Vi. SkewMond ready for it. Answers with his own.
The Vi ulti is so telegraphed too. You see that big line from his champ to yours. As soon as he's close, you hit the Heartbreaker, you're out. Levi's Vi, although he's 1-0-1, you know, he's been a part of both the kills that GAM have found. The composition from G2, the Viego for what you just said, the Tahm Kench like we've seen the whole game, it is designed to shut down the playmaking potential of this player who is the driver for so much of the action for GAM. And when Levi can't make it happen, when you don't have one of those dominating lane presences in the bot lane duo like Game 4, GAM have felt stuck. It feels like they haven't been able to find an avenue to make a play.
Yeah, because they tried so much in mid lane. They sent a lot of resources there. Levi hovering a lot. They swapped the bottom lane to run down. They burned 3 flashes to try and kill Caps, and they couldn't do it. And G2 now, with 2 inhibitors already down, they see the game in their hands.
This might be the last stand of GAM Esports at MSI 2025. They will try to hold the line here at this tier 3 turret. They know if they give over triple inhibs, there's no way to even leave the base at that point. G2 keeping the pressure on. Senna root finds Kiaya. Tier 3 turret, about 3/5 of the HP remaining on it. 20 seconds until the Mountain Drake spawns. Han Sama with so much range, easy to step up and take pot shots at this thing. As another wave steps up to the side of GAM, Levi wants to go in. The Seraphine ulti over the top. It only finds Broken Blade and Labrov, and now Levi is going on a one-way trip. GAM trying to force the fight forward, but Kiaya has to flash back. Caps is ready for the counterattack. Elio is saved by Artemis, but the Dawning Shadow finds multiple health bars. Artemis is already down. Kiaya and Eris both about to follow. No raid boss Aatrox in this one. Eris is gone. GAM is aced, and G2, they had to work for it. They had to sweat for it. They had to bleed for it, but they won't be denied. They eliminate GAM and move on to the main stage.
The smiles on their faces. You said it, how hard they have had to work in play-ins. Unbench the Kench indeed. They pull it out in Game 5 to move on.
What a series. G2 showing their caliber when they have to. When you've got to stand up, when your back's against the wall, when it's win or go home, G2 are not ready to end their trip to MSI just yet.
And they have some scary opponents ahead of them in the main stage.
This was the first health bar on the boss. The second form, far, far tougher. Many, many scary opponents waiting for them in the next phase of the tournament. And what a battle from GAM as well. Taking G2 all the way to 5 games, coming this close to achieving the main stage themselves. A powerful performance from the second seed of the LCP.
The heart on this team, these players show no fear, pushing G2 to 5 games. Round of applause, well fought.